Galway, Ireland is one of the most popular destinations for tourists visiting Ireland because of its rich history and culture. Its location on the fringes of Europe has somewhat kept it isolated, which helped to preserve its ancient culture. Its nickname is the City of Tribes because for centuries the city's affairs were controlled by 14 merchant families. It is unknown how long human settlement has lived here, but we know that a fort was completed at the mouth of the River Corrib in the year 1124, around 900 years ago. Hey everybody, this is Colonel Carson with Family Tree Nuts, and recently we visited Galway, took in the sights, and made this list. It should be mentioned that most of these sites are historic places, and many modern highlights of Galway have been left out. It should also be mentioned that this list could have been 50 or more, but we tried to limit them to the absolute best. Bear in mind, this is our list. We are a team of historians and genealogists, and you may totally disagree with the way that we have ranked them. So be sure to leave us a comment of how you would have changed these up a bit, or tell us what we left out. And by the way, if you like these videos, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Most of our videos are at historic sites all over the United States, but we do have several in a few countries. This video is one of several that we have from Ireland, so be sure to check out our Ireland playlist. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you, this video has a little bit of a surprise at the ending, so you'll want to hang in till the end for that surprise. Okay, enough rambling, and on to the list. Number 20, the pub of your choice. As with anywhere in Ireland, the local pub is the place to go to see the true culture of the area, and this is certainly true in Galway. County Galway has around 475 pubs, so you better get up early in the morning if you want to try to hit them all. Many of the pubs are centuries old, and that comes with a tremendous amount of individual character. Galway's pubs are known for having céilís, or sing-alongs, and traditional Irish music, and that is something most of us are looking for when we visit Ireland. Number 19, the Oscar Wilde and Edward Vilde statue. Oscar Wilde was a famous Irish poet and playwright that was controversial to some and genius to others. Edward Vildy was an Estonian writer and a diplomat. An Estonian artist created this statue in 1999 while imagining what the two great innovators with similar names would have said to each other if they ever met, even though they never did. This statue is a replica of the one in Estonia and was a gift to Galway when Estonia joined the European Union in 2004. Number 18, the River Corrib. It is hard to understand Galway without understanding the River Corrib's influence on the city. Galway sits on the mouth of the river where it empties into Galway Bay in the Atlantic Ocean. The name Corrib is an anglicized version of an Irish word for the god of the sea. The river has also been called, which is pronounced Galway in English, and where the city got its name. It is one of the shortest rivers in Ireland, being less than 4 miles long, beginning at Lough Corrib before it empties into Galway Bay. 4 bridges in Galway cross the Corrib, and it is a natural divider of sections of the town. It is a popular spot for salmon fishing, and today is popular with kayakers. Number 17, the Fisheries Watchtower Museum. This museum is said to be the smallest museum in Ireland and holds artifacts and memorabilia pertaining to the important fishing industry in Galway. The building was built in 1853 and used as a watchtower to illegal fishing on the River Corrib. Its uniqueness makes it a must-see when traveling across the Wolftones Bridge on your way to Claddagh. Number 16, the Buskers. While buskers exist all over the world's cities, Galway is specifically known for its variety and quality of them. People come from all over the world to busk on the streets of Galway. You can find buskers that range from a 10-piece band to the more common individual. The city does have rules in place to keep down the congregation of crowds, and buskers must have at least 20 songs in order to get a license to perform. Here is a busker in Galway singing one of my favorite Celtic songs.
So let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. And I know there's nothing now I'm going on. If we should become a stranger, you know that it would make me all the time. And I know that I'll be everything I'll ever do. And I know that I'll be everything I'll ever have. And I know that I'll be everything I'll ever have. Thank you.
Number 15, the jewelry shops. Celtic jewelry is popular all over the world, especially for those of us with Celtic heritage. Galway is known for its amazing jewelry stores that have tremendous personality. Many of the shops have individuals who make or at least modify the jewelry in-house. Several of these stores have been around longer than the United States has been a country, and that personality makes it an amazing memory to make your selection there. A few of these stores have had many well-known regular customers. Number 14, medieval art and decorations on buildings. As with all countries in Europe, Ireland's cities are centuries old. In the old section of Galway, you will find all things modern world, mixed with medieval time architecture and art. Many of the buildings have family crests, decorations, and writings that are as much as 800 years old. It is an amazing mix of the ancient world mixed with modern times. Number 13, the Hall of the Red Earl. In Galway, you can visit the ruins of the Hall of the Red Earl, who was the head of the ruling Dakota family until they were ran out of power by the 14 tribes. The building was built in the 1200s as a municipal building or customs house and had disappeared from modern history, being covered up by modern buildings until it was discovered in 1997. Today, you can at any time pass down Druid Lane and see the ancient remains of the castle from behind glass walls. Number 12, castle ruins inside the famous Aran Sweater Market. The Aran Sweater Market in Galway is famous in its own modern right and offers a variety of woolen sweaters, clothing, blankets, and hats. But during a remodeling project in 2017, it was discovered that under the building sat the ruins of the first castle in Galway, built in the year 1232 by the Dakota family. The ruins are now visible at the checkout counter of the store. Number 11, the King's Head. The King's Head Tavern and Restaurant in Galway is one of the most unique spots anywhere. The building is over 800 years old and was once the home of the Mayor of Galway, Thomas Lynch Fitzambrose, until it was seized in 1653 during Galway's surrender to Colonel Peter Stubbers, who was one of Oliver Cromwell's men. Colonel Stubbers was said to be the man who beheaded the Catholic King Charles I a few years earlier in 1649. The king had been condemned to death, but no one was brave enough to actually do the execution until Colonel Stubbers stepped up and took on the gruesome task. Number 10, the Claddagh Museum. The Claddagh ring has become part of Irish culture, and you can learn all about its history and symbolism in Galway's Thomas Dillon & Son jewelry store, which was founded in 1750 and has reportedly produced the iconic ring since its beginnings. This little museum is jam-packed full of history relating to the ring and has several rare and valuable Claddagh rings on display. Number 9, Lynchs Castle. One of the most preserved buildings in Galway that has survived since medieval times is the Tower of Lynchs Castle, which was built in the 1500s. The castle was home to the Blakes, one of the 14 ruling merchant tribes of medieval times. The castle sits near the Wolftones Bridge on the River Corrib and across from the Aran Sweater Market. This spot not only is a very historic spot in Galway, but it is also one of the most picturesque locations to see down a street where the ancient world meets the modern world. This castle is not to be confused with the ruins of Menlo Castle, which is in the county and sometimes referred to as Blake's Castle. Number 8. Lynchs Castle. Lynchs Castle was built in the 1500s and is touted as being the finest 16th century tower house in Ireland. The castle was home to the Lynch family, which were one of the 14 ruling merchant tribes of Galway. One story about the Lynch family was in 1493, when James Lynch Fitzstephen was mayor of Galway. His son was convicted of murdering a Spanish sailor. Upon his conviction, Mayor Lynch hung his son outside of a window for all to see. This is said to be where the word lynch or lynch comes from. The castle was decorated with crest of the family and a carving of a monkey with a baby. It is said that one time during a fire, a baby of the family was rescued from the house by the pet monkey, and the family commemorated the fortuitous event with the carving. The castle is now an AIB bank. Number 7. The Galway City Museum. The Galway City Museum sits on one of the most historic spots in the city, just inside the Spanish Arch, looking over the Claddagh across the River Corrib. The current museum, which was built in 2007, houses 3 floors of detailed regional and Irish history. Its main exhibits showcase several subjects which include ancient regional history, the Celts who settled the area and their culture and customs, the Irish struggle for independence in the early 1900s, the Claddagh, and the maritime history and the marine biology of the area. The museum has walls with full-length glass looking over the Claddagh and the Spanish Arch. Be sure to see our individual video from here. Number 6. Medieval walls inside Galway Mall. It is odd to find a visit to a modern mall on the list of top historic places of an area, but the Galway Mall was no ordinary mall. Inside, among the modern stores, is a section of the original city wall that was built between the years 1250 and 1270 that encircled the town for protection. When the mall was built in the year 2000, this section of the almost 800 medieval wall was saved and protected inside the mall for all of us to marvel at. Seeing a structure with so much history inside a shopping mall is something that is hard for us in the United States to fathom. Number 5. Galway's Kerwins Lane. Kerwins Lane is a small stretch of road that is almost untouched from medieval times, and its architecture is from the 1500s. The lane was inside the old medieval walls of the city and is named after the Kerwin family, which is one of the 14 ruling merchant tribes of Galway. The lane is the site of the 1700s Martin Theatre, where the patriot Theobald Wolfetone once performed. Walking quietly down Kerwins Lane, you can really imagine that you are back in time. Number 4, the Spanish Arch and Christopher Columbus Monument. The Spanish Arch is one of the last remaining sections of the old medieval wall that surrounded Galway. The arch was part of an extension of the original walls and was built in 1584, and a defensive structure to defend the city from raids. When it was built, the water ran all the way up to the arch, and it was damaged by a tsunami that followed the Lisbon earthquake in 1755. It is amazing to imagine all that this section of wall has seen, and by passing through it, you are doing something that untold others have done for centuries. Outside of the Spanish Arch is the statue of Christopher Columbus that states, "On these shores around 1477, the Genoese sailor Cristoforo Colombo found sure signs of land beyond the Atlantic." The statue was donated by the city of Genoa, Italy in 1992, the 500-year anniversary of Columbus's famous voyage, to celebrate the piece of Columbus's story that the city of Galway has. Also outside the Spanish Arch is the small concrete obelisk with the marker that states, "The Galway Democratic Republic was declared on October the 4th at this spot." You can do some research to what that is. I must admit that while filming the Spanish Arch, I backed into this monument and fell completely over it and landed on my shoulder in front of a large crowd. Now that's a memory that will stick with me. Number 3, St. Nicholas's Collegiate Church. One of the most beautiful historic buildings in Galway is St. Nicholas's Collegiate Church, which was built in 1320, over 700 years ago. The church is dedicated to St. Nicholas of Myra, the patron saint of seafarers, archers, repentant thieves, brewers, pawnbrokers, unmarried people, students, and of course, children. St. Nicholas was known for his secret gift giving, and that led to the tradition of St. Nick, or as we know him, Santa Claus. So in a roundabout way, I suppose you can say that this is the Church of Santa Claus. Like any churches in the medieval times, this church has played a large role in the history and politics of the city. It is said that when Christopher Columbus visited Galway, he worshipped at this church. The architecture is amazing to look at, and folks gather in its yard to socialize and have their lunch. By the way, the sign posted states that antisocial behavior is forbidden, so perhaps you should make sure that you kiss the Blarney Stone and earn your gift of gab before you visit Galway. Outside the church fence is the Galway Market at St. Nicholas Church. Here you will find stalls with vendors selling food, crafts, art, and other trinkets of interest. Number 2, Eyre Square. Eyre Square is the center of activity for the city of Galway. This spot has been an open-air area since the early days of the city and has served as the town green used for livestock grazing or gathering place. Eyre Square is sometimes called the John F. Kennedy Park because JFK visited the square and gave a speech here on June 29, 1963, and was the first president to do so during his term of office. A monument commemorating the event sits on the edge of the square. The square is home to several attractions throughout the park, one of which is the fountain with the metal artwork of a Galway hooker, which are the fishing ships that have been so important to the city's economy. Another attraction of note is the Liam Meadows statue. Mellows was a hero of Ireland's War of Independence. Near the center of the park is the statue of Pádraig Ó Connor, the author so important to the rebirth of the Irish language. In the front of the square, you will find the Brown Doorway. The doorway was built in 1627 and used to be the front of the Brown Mansion, one of the 14 ruling merchant families of Galway. The doorway was moved to Eyre Square in 1905 and used as an example of the elaborate architecture of the city in medieval times. Also in the front of the square, you will find banners flying for each of the 14 merchant tribes of Galway that played such an important role in the city for over 500 years. It is easy to see why Eyre Square has certainly been one of the most important spots in Galway since its beginnings. Number 1. The Claddagh. Love, loyalty, and friendship. Those three powerful words make up the meaning of the ring worn throughout 5 different centuries by millions of Irish and those of us with Celtic ancestry. Even if you haven't had one yourself, chances are that you've seen someone wearing one, or at least seen the image somewhere. It has become a fashionable way to celebrate one's heritage and pride of their Celtic roots. It is surprising that even with the ring's popularity, very few know the origin of the ring and where it came from. The ring sprung into existence around the year 1700 out of the ancient small fishing village outside the city walls of Galway. The legend tells of Richard Joyce, who was betrothed to be married, but was captured by North African pirates and spent 14 years as a slave of a jewelry maker. He used his newfound skills to fashion a ring for his love at home, and when he was released, he returned to Claddagh and married her with his ring. That ring now is all over the globe, and you can walk the shores of where it all began. Be sure to see our individual video from here. Bonus! The Cliffs of Mohr. The Cliffs of Mohr are not in Galway, but about an hour away from the city, so I wanted to make sure that I included them in this video. My wife Stephanie said the Cliffs of Mohr was the most spiritual place that she had ever been. Words are hard to find to describe the majesty of these cliffs that are situated in County Clare on the edge of Europe. The cliffs run for about 14 miles and range from about 390 feet to about 702 feet above the ocean below. The cliffs are often a scene of wedding proposals. Romantic kisses, and family photos. And of course, flex pictures. The cliffs have a very informative and well-done museum and interpretive center where you can learn about the history, biology, and ecology of this unique area. The site is one of the most visited sites in all of Ireland, with more than 1.5 million visitors every year. Words, pictures, and videos simply cannot describe the power of seeing the cliffs of Moher with your own eyes. So that was it, our top 20 list of must-sees in Galway, Ireland. What do you think? Do you agree? Did we leave something out? We'd love to hear from you in the comments below. We are extremely proud to have brought you on this epic journey to all these wonderful historic sites. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and let us know where you'd like to see next in our videos. And remember, family tree nuts, let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.